Hello, everyone, and welcome to Amjambo Time, the podcast that shares stories of immigrant communities building new lives, driving change, and strengthening democracy in Maine and across the United States. I'm your host, Eloge Willy Kaneza. Today, we're diving into the story of a man whose leadership is helping reshape how immigrants engage American public life, Pious Ali, and the network he founded called AELA, the African Immigrant Elected Leaders of America. AELA is a national organization that connects and supports African-born elected officials serving in the U.S. It helps them share ideas, mentor one another, and build bridges with other communities, from African Americans to Asian, Caribbean, and Latinx leaders. Through AELA, Pious Ali is showing that immigrant leadership is not just about representation, it's about participation, collaboration, and transformation.
You are listening to Amjambo Time on 90.9 FM, WMPG, Gorham, Portland, radio from the University of Southern Maine.
Pious Ali, good morning.
Good morning.
For those who don't know you, can you tell us who you are, please?
My name is Pious Ali. I am a city councillor here in Portland. I am the first African immigrant and the first Muslim to be elected into any office in Maine, not just in Portland, but across the state. I am also the first Ghanaian to be elected into any office in the United States. In Maine, I'm not the first African immigrant to run for office or the first Muslim to run. Prior to me, there was a Sudanese woman who ran for school board. And there was two Somali men who ran, three. One ran for mayor and the other two ran for state legislature. But I was the first to be lucky enough for the people of Portland to give me the privilege and the opportunity to serve them.
Recently, you launched the African Elected Leaders of America. What inspired you?
Well, as of now, I've been in office for 12 years. I serve on the Board of Education for 3 years. And I've been in the council I'm wrapping up my 9th year and I'm running for re-election. However, prior to last year, I did run for mayor in 2023. And during that time, I was also running an organization called Portland Empowered, which was working with immigrant parents who have kids in Portland public schools and also high school students. And also we used to have a fellowship that work with emerging immigrants to understand how politics work and how they can be part of it. After my mayor election, which I did win, I was going through personal transformation. So I went through a program at Kennedy School, which take people who are in, I call it midlife crisis. We want to do, what is the next thing that I want to do with my life? And whilst there, I went through a process that got me to think, what else can I do to scale up or to share the experience that I have learned with other people who have similar background like me across the country. And I have toyed with this idea of bringing Africans who are in elected office because our numbers are growing. When I first ran for office and got elected, I was the only African immigrant in an elected office in Maine. Currently, as I'm speaking to you, we have about 12 of us from school board, city council, state, and county. If you look across the state, at every of this level of government, there's an African. If you go beyond Africans and you look at immigrants, just at the state legislature, there are 7 immigrants in elected office. And then all the way down, there's multiples of us. You know, at the national level, I'm part of many groups, many affinity groups, immigrants in general and groups, Muslim, I'm a Muslim groups, black of any kind groups, it goes on and on and on, right? What I found to be interesting is that even though we have a large number of Africans in elected office, in most of, not all, in most of these spaces, when I go, I happen to be the only one. And I keep asking myself, why is it that my friends do not come here? There are several reasons. One is that they don't feel comfortable being in those spaces, or those spaces don't know, find them and invite them, right? But I did a lot of work across board, so much that there is hardly an who is in elected office who may not know me. And to some extent, even some of the ones that are running for higher office across the country, they will reach out to me and say, hey, we've seen you online, we've seen what you are doing, and we are going to do this. We want to talk to you so that you can give us ideas, and also you can tell us, like, guide us through our campaign. I don't have any, for example, it's not that I'm going to raise money for them, because I don't have wealthy friends, but they value and respect the experience that I have acquired over the years. They know that whatever I share with them is going to be helpful. And I have seen some of them who have done that to me and have gone on to win their elections. So I wanted to codify that. I wanted to put that into something that long after I'm gone, the leaders that will come from behind me will have a space where they can feel that they belong, and then empower themselves to create more leaders, and also to engage other marginalized groups like our cousins, the African Americans, the Caribbean Americans. There are a lot of other groups who are creating spaces so that we'll find a way to support and work with them to build more equitable democratic system in this country. So we're going to go back. I'm going to go back to the Harvard thing. Harvard Kennedy School have different professional development leadership program. The one that I do is called Local and State. And during that, the person that was pushing it pushed me to think outside what I'm doing at that time, and what can I possibly do to scale everything that society have given me, to share it with other people. And in the process of doing that, I came up with an idea, in addition to everything that I've said, and said, okay, I'm going to create an organization that will be called African Elected Leaders in America. So I registered it last year before I went to Ghana, and then when I came back, I perfected it. It's a nonprofit that is being under a national group. The national group is called a Ghana PAC. Ghana stands for Ghana. The PAC stands for Public Affairs Committee. It is not a political PAC. It is a non-profit that works with Ghanaians across the country. I'm part of the team there. So I put this under it so that whilst we are working for our own 501c3, and it is not a local organization, it's a national. But we are looking to do a small project here in Maine to see how it will work.
Why now?
Why now? I believe that everything in public service is a calling. You know, I literally accidentally ran for office. I didn't sit down one day and say I'm going to run for office. It happened automatically. It happened one way or the other. And I believe that when it is time for something, it will happen. Why now? Well, as I said, after I ran for mayor, the following year I did the Harvard Kennedy School training. During that training, I kept asking myself, what else? Because locally, I've done it all. I've run for office. I've got elected. I've run non-profits. I've helped many people. But what can I do? I know what is out there. I know what is not being fulfilled, which is creating a space for Africans who are running for office, where they can meet. That is just them to talk amongst themselves, because we have like a core values that we all share as Africans. Without going into deep on what those are, we all know. And by creating a space, right, we can learn from each other. Somebody can say to me, hey, how did you do this, right? And then it can be replicated all over the country. It will increase our voice. It will increase the way government is governing at every level, all over the country, because we know that we have people all over the country, right? If Maine, which is one of the whitest states, have this many of African immigrants in office, it is possible to have them all over the country. So that is what prompted me, it pushed me outside my comfort zone and said that you have to do this. For example, tomorrow I'm heading to DC. There's something called Congressional Black Caucus. The black elected officials in Congress every year they've been doing this for tens of years. I'm having the privilege of speaking somewhere and share about this with other people who are Africans in elected office who will be coming to the event that is being organized. It's a reception for the first Ghanaian to be in Congress. And so I'm being given the privilege to also say something about why we're doing this. So, yeah.
Good. How does your personal journey as an elected official and immigrant inform, AELA's mission?
Well, it's a replication of what I went through, right? When I first got elected to the school board, there was nobody with similar journey like me locally to be connected to. You know, there are many different elected officials. There are people that have gone to school to become lawyers and they're interested in politics. There are people that have been activists for a long time. And yeah, so I was an organizer. I was an activist. I was doing a lot of things, but I have never looked at elected office as a pipeline to traject my growth. And then suddenly, 2 weeks before nominations was over in 2013, one of my team members at my daytime job said that I think you should run for school. And I said, oh, it's not my thing. She said, why? And I said, because I'm not interested in politics. And she said, everything that you have done since I've known you in this city is politics. You advocate for young people. You've organized protests. You've organized public conversation. All of that is politics. And I said, yeah, I know, but I'm not interested in organized politics. But for whatever reason, I decided to take that challenge and I got elected. And I've been successful since then. So my life and I've seen the struggle of when people who are not from here run for office. You have a steep learning curve. You have to learn how the system works. You have to learn a lot of things. I'm not saying that there are some people amongst us who are gifted, they've learned. I am not. But I also know that there are a lot of people out there from, not just from our communities, from all over this country, who will run for office because there's something that they want to change, but they don't have the training and anything behind them that prepares them, and they just jump into it. And I want to change that. Whether you run because of passion to change something or you prepare, I want you to have a space where you can talk to someone, where you will have I have had moments where not just Africans, other immigrants from different parts of the country who are in office, when they are facing challenges, people will refer themselves, call Councillor Ali. And they will call me and we'll go on the phone or on the Zoom, and then we will talk, and I will give them my honest. But I want to codify all of that so that people don't have to go through what I was through, so that their pathway to leadership was much more smoother than what I went through. Don't get me wrong, halfway through my school board and city council, I was able to get support from all over the country and locally, but I wanted to be even easier than than my journey. I want the journey of the leaders who will come before me or who will come after me to have something smoother. And the other phase of this is that the relationship between Africans and African Americans is not very solid, right? There's the community conversation, but at the policy level, you have Africans, you have African Americans, you have Caribbean Americans. All of us face the same challenge in this country and elsewhere in the world. We are Black. So the African Americans are organized, the Caribbean Americans are somewhat organized in elected. I'm talking about people who are in elected office. I want this organization, this program, to be the one that bridge between us and African Americans and us and Caribbean Americans and other Black or marginalized groups in the country, so that we will form a block of elected officials and then learn how to bring more people into the fold and learn how to also talk locally with our communities. Because if you are by yourself, you are struggling. And then you find out that, oh, in Maine, there's about 8 of them. And this is how they are doing to organize their community. You will also take what we are learning, right? Because there's a space for all of us to come together and then improve that. If there is an issue that impacts the African continent or the global Black people, if we bring ourselves together, we have more numbers. Instead of just me writing a letter to my congressional people here, if there's an issue that impacts Africa, and 12 of us from Maine, all of us come together and send an email to our congressional delegates and say, we want to meet with you. If they sit down and look at 12 other elected officials at the lower level, telling them that this is how we want you to vote, or we want you to think about how you support or not support this, that is a good message. And that is what I want to see across the country.
Mhm. I think you touched it a little bit, but what gap did you see in the civic leadership landscape that you felt AELA could fill?
Yeah, as I've said earlier, people look at leaders. All right. For example, we have a gubernatorial election coming up in May, right? Next year. Each of us who are in elected or leadership role in this state, who are immigrants in elected office, have had phone call from most of these people, right? So what do I think needs to be done? I think all of us need to come together privately and talk, and then invite these people to come and talk to us as a community instead of them talking to Pious or talking to X or Z or Y. And then we will make our mind as a group to say that this is the person that we are going to put our support behind. It doesn't mean that because we are a small voting bloc, we don't decide who wins or who doesn't win. But what it does is that if our communities see their leaders, whether elected or not, standing behind one person, it gets them curious. It gets them to, and then we bring them to talk to people. It gives the people in our community to civically engage the system. It also builds curiosity. It makes more people want to be part of this because we have people that follow us, we have people that listen to us, and then that. And also, by being professional, when you get elected, when you get into elected office, it's completely being a candidate and an activist than being somebody who makes rules, right? There are skills that you need to learn on how to govern, but there's also skills that you need to learn. Talk to the people that you represent. Yes, you don't only represent the immigrant community or the African immigrant community. You represent everybody who lives in your jurisdiction. However, the people that you are part of, your primary identity and connection, which is the African immigrant community, they look up to you. You want to build more leaders, but you need to understand how to engage them. Because if we are going to just rely on, for me, to say that, African immigrant people, no, we don't have the vote to put anybody or remove anybody from office. But the idea is that I want to create an opportunity for other people so that I am not the last, right? And doing that alone will not work. You have to build connections. So this is some of that. And I'm not just talking about just here in Maine. I'm talking about across the countries where we have people. We're not going to survive if we isolate ourselves from the civic and political system that we have in this country. We have to participate. We have to influence decisions that are made that will impact us as individuals and other people that we care about, other marginalized groups, African Americans, indigenous Americans, Latino Americans, people who are not part of the mainstream bloc. And the only way that we can do that, or one of the many things that we can do that, is by increasing the leadership skills of those who were brave and courageous enough to run for office so that they can effectively bring other people from the ground to become part of the whole in that way, the whole system that we are. And I think this will fill it for specifically African elected individuals and others who are interested in politics and also interested in running for office.
Now, AELA's mission, AELA aims to equip, connect, and elevate African immigrant elected officials. What are some concrete ways you plan to achieve in the first year?
Okay, in the first year is putting structure to the idea. The idea is just an idea. It's a frame, and I don't want it to be a pious thing. I want it to be something that was created by leaders for themselves and for their community, for us by us. We have two leadership structure. There is a board of directors, which is solely for people that are bringing skills on how to govern, on how to raise money, on how to create policy. So you don't have to be an elected person to be a board member. You don't even have to be an African immigrant. Once I roll it out, one of the board members is a white man who is married to an African woman. But he's bringing very valuable skill that will help us. And he also have the passion around the idea of AELA, right? And then there's the founding, what we call a founding advisory group. And we all know, I joke that when you put 10 elected officials into a room, you are creating 10 debates because each of them will think the ideas that they bring. So I'm not putting them on the board, but I'm putting them on the founding council. The founding council will be made up of just a few. And as we go on, they will be inviting others to bring them into the space. And the idea of the founding council is that if I come up with any idea, I work it with them. They are bringing their expertise of being currently elected or formal elected. So they will work with me to shape that idea before I bring it to the board. And then so I want the founding council to be the ones that create all that. I'll tell them this is the goal, this is the mission, this is what we have to do. And then they will work with me to do that. Yeah, right. There's one thing that I have already taken the risk of pushing it through to do it, which will happen soon. I'm speaking to some funders here locally in Maine. As I told you earlier, Maine have a X number of Africans who are in elected office and also other minorities. So I have reached out to an organization that does look at the issue of race and equity through psychology. They are a local organization. We haven't talked yet, so I'm not going to mention their name. What I want to do is before the end of the year, I will create a weekend retreat under the organization, right? And then this organization that creates the anti-racism work will come and work with us around how the work that we do, the leadership position that we have, how does it impact our mental health? Some of the work that we need to do so that we remain safe, especially in this time when we are being attacked by people that don't agree with us. Yeah, so that will be the first project that we've ever done. And now I'm working on that, so I cannot go into details. I mean, you can share it, but I'm not going to go into details until it's perfectly large. And yeah, so that is the idea of building that.
How do you envision mentorship and the leadership development working in practice? Will it be local, regional, national?
It could be, I have mentored people who are in elected office who are not local to Maine, but they are different parts of the US. Because of technology, everything is easy. Hardly a year, any election cycle, I can tell you. They don't know that I know them, but I know them because I pay attention. In Burlington, Vermont, we have two young people, actually they are from Burundi, based on what I heard, who are in elected office. They are on the board of education. I bet you that they may have gone through the school system, but our school system doesn't show you how to be in elected office, especially if you are coming from the background that we are coming from. Okay, here in Portland, we have someone like Becca, we have someone like Claude, we have someone like Mickey, we have someone like me, and there's a lot of us. It will be easy for me or for AELA to connect these two young people with, say, Claude. Claude alone can mentor 10 of them, or Deca can mentor 10 of them, but we connect them, they meet with them on Zoom once in a while. And once we have the resources, once a year, we bring all those new ones together to meet with the old ones, the ones that have experience, not old. I'm not going to call my colleagues old, they're going to be angry at me. You know what I'm saying? So that is part of the broader idea that I'm thinking. I'm sure that there may be some other models out there. The founding council, once we met with them, will be the ones that will decide on what is the best way. For now, it is an idea that I have thrown into it. Chances are by the time this will be running now, it is getting ready to crawl. Once they're running, and I bring other people on board, they can look at all of this. They say, you're crazy, you don't know what you're thinking about, let's change it. And I'm open to that.
Mm-hmm. The mission emphasizes collaboration with Black American, Indigenous, and the other represented leaders. How will AELA ensure this isn't just symbolic, but results into meaningful partnership?
Yeah, through my national network, as I've said to you before, there's an organization called National League of Cities. It's about 100 years old. National League of Cities have different affinity groups. For the past 3 years, I represent for the past 3 years, since I got to the city council, which is 9 years, I've been part of a group in there called NBC-LEO. NBC-LEO stands for National Black Caucus for Locally Elected Officials. For the past year and a half, I represent this organization across New England. It is for Black people who are in elected office. In that group, until recently, I believe that I'm the only African immigrant in that group. I don't know, maybe some others have been part before I got there, but I doubt it, right? But I talk to the leadership. I'm part of the leadership of these. So through channels like that, there's an organization called New American Leaders that work with immigrants from anywhere, everywhere, right? I have a network of program individuals who are in elected office, and they are part of their own community, the Asians, Southeast Asians, the Latinos. So I will use that network to connect with all these national organizations and groups, right? To make sure that we talk the same language. We look at what is the problem that your community is facing, what is the problem that my community is facing, and instead of just looking at it independently, we connect our forces. There are nonprofits at national level that advocate for all of our communities. They talk to each other, so we can also talk to each other, and actually we will become another extended process for those organizations at the national level that work with immigrants, that work with other minorities, because they work at national level. They don't have anybody that does the groundwork politically, right, and community civically. So we become another pipeline for them. So that is how we will realize with the African American communities locally, we have a relationship with African American communities. We become one to some extent. Yes, there are differences. Yes, we can make it better. At national level,
Hunda Gusoma, Amjambo Africa.
When you are an immigrant, one thing that you desperately need is information. When people are reading the newspaper, Amjambo Africa, they can definitely trust that this is coming from the right source.
Do our best to help bridge gaps between communities.
Very important that all voices in our community are heard.
Young people can really benefit from Amjambo Africa.
This paper connects us all with things that are relevant to all of us.
This newspaper made people visible, right? Because they can see themselves, through one of those, languages.
Immigrant voices are not only vital to our future, they are part of our history. Is an opportunity we should embrace.
But Amjambo Africa can just give us a sense of hope when we're reading what's going on back.
As Portland and the state embraces more and more immigration, connecting between not only the immigrant community, but the locals.
J'aime lire Amjambo Africa. Est-ce que vous lisez Amjambo Africa?
Amjambo means word. It's in Swahili. DRC Congo, they use as a greeting, hello or good morning.
I see Amjambo Africa as becoming a real force in the state.
So we want to flip that script to make sure that when our people are doing things, we will work with people like you, and then we will also use our connections and network, make sure that the mainstream media don't only come to us only when something is happening to us to say, oh, look at us, what is that? But to be heard and talk about our communities in a different way.
Call your children, be united for the peace and your children's welfare. An enemy of Africa shouldn't be an African. Onganzi you Africa, nakawe humu Africa. Yeah, we Africa, yeah we Africa, Africa.
I'm connected, as I've said, with many groups that are solely, they call it black, but it's mostly African Americans. So I will use all of those channels to build relationship and connections formally. Like I'm going to DC tomorrow to be part of many things in all these places. I seek relationship. I haven't made this public. Actually, this will be the first time that I'm speaking about this organization publicly. We have like a social media page that other people are aware, but this is the first time that I'm formally, so consider this as the inaugural interview for it. And I'm going to use all of this to reach out to other groups. So that is how it's going to happen. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, thank you for talking to Amjambo Africa. What role do you see African immigrants leaders playing in strengthening U.S. democracy?
We are coming from a different background in terms of how do you engage civically. What we have that other groups don't have, and the only group that have similar are other minority groups, which is what is community, right? If you line up 3, 4, 5 African immigrants who live in the U.S., community will mean different things to them. It could mean the church that they go to mean the community, the language that they speak. It will mean the country that they are from, right? So through these groups, it is easy to share information. Right? I'm part of many WhatsApp groups: Muslims, Africans, Ghanaians, people who speak my language who are from different parts of Africa or different parts of the world, and so on and so forth. I can drop information in all of these spaces, and the people in that, they will trust me, they believe me. What we don't do is once we travel abroad, until recently, we shy away from the political system in those countries. And there's a reason for that, because most of us are coming from a system that is very oppressive, that have oppressed our people, and we are afraid that it will be the same here. Yes, the system here have its challenges, right? But it is more open, right? However, the system doesn't open its doors easily for everyone to come. It doesn't provide you with a seat at the table. So it is the role of those of us who are in leadership position to bring that seat into our communities. And once our communities have accepted that, we will come with our numbers and our ideas. We will influence and change the democracy that we have in this country, and probably direct it towards what our founding fathers have wanted it to be, which is a multi-idea, multi-language, multi-racial democracy that meets the aspirations and that meets and provides the need of everybody who lives there. And I think the African immigrant community, wherever we are, have the ability, even if we're small numbers, we can, by getting involved, we can force the conversation to include what we need, the support that we need, and how we can be part of the larger community. But we will not survive as a group if we sit in isolation and not get involved. We'll be crushed. So, yeah. So the aim of AELA is to make sure that that gap, that space, is filled. We're going to make sure that our community are engaged in a way that will get them interested in being engaged.
Now, in Pious Ali view, what unique perspectives do African immigrants bring to governance and civic leadership here?
Yeah, as I said earlier, there's a way to get our people to talk where the mainstream leaders and leadership don't know. I don't want to call it an inside secret. It's an open, but if you want to talk to, I've done that in education, right? I get parents who, and I've done it across New England. I have parents who the school system that their kids go to, the school system don't talk to them. It is not because the school system don't talk to them because they don't want to talk to them. It is because the type of dialogue that the school system have created doesn't meet. It doesn't get them to speak, right? But if you provide food, you provide childcare, and you allow our people to speak in their own language, not in English, but in their own language, you get more out of them. And it is not your normal way of you have a conversation in English and somebody translate it to them. No. The facilitator and the participants will be speaking in the same language, and you sit there, you don't answer any question, you just keep quiet and listen. There will be an interpreter, but the interpreter will interpret from that language into English for you, the person who have power. Right. And there's nothing more beautiful than people talking about their own issues in their own language. So those are some of the tools that we will use. And we also know that some people in our community, if you have a town hall meeting, they're not going to show up, right? But they will go to a church, they will go to the mosque, they will go to their neighbor's house, if the neighbor. So those are tools that can be used in a different way in our communities, so that we get people to be involved.
Julia talks about shifting power. What does power building look like for African immigrant leaders and their communities?
When I first ran for office in 2013, there's a lot of, we did like a forum across the city. If I go to those forums and I raise my hand, in most of the forums, I see only two people that look like me. State Senator Jill Dawson. At that time, she was a city councilor. And my friend Claude, right? Yeah, the first time that I went. Okay. After that, Claude would say, "You are crazy, you know that?" In a jovial way. And a lot of people in our community, even though there were people that ran before, think I was crazy. Right. Guess what? I got elected in 2013, and then in 2016, I did it again, right? You know what that did? That told the people from our community that, oh, actually, he's not crazy. It's showing us this is possible, right? And now, as I said to you, of course, I cannot claim that because I ran, that is why we have this number. I bet you my participation in the process have shown all these ones that came after me that it is possible in the beginning. Okay, so it is living by example. Before, I have a joke that I tell people that previously, before I got elected, because of the work that I did in the community, people who are in power know who I am and have a lot of respect for the work that I do. So I can meet with them like I'm meeting with them and say, hey, can you do this for the community or for other people? So yeah, Pious, let's think about that, right? But they have to choose if they want to do it. When I got elected, I joked that I'm not going to knock at the door anymore. I kicked the door open and brought the whole community with me, right? So the way it works is that if just one from any minority group, from any marginalized group, have the courage to step up, it influences others behind them. And so that is another way that we are going to increase participation and influence decisions that impact us directly.
What are the biggest challenges African immigrant elected officials currently face in the U.S.?
I think having allies. There are a lot of people that support our ideas and what we do, but the issue that we face currently is some of the deportation, like many other groups who are immigrants, the deportation process that is going on. You know, you are an American, you have to follow American laws. So you see people being deported and there is nothing, absolutely nothing you can do, right? To those who are in places where they are the only ones, right? Then you have to figure out how can I strategize and do many other things, policy that impacts the community which I'm going to come back, which is why AELA is in place. AELA will connect not only just amongst ourselves, but we can look through some of our network and say, that, okay, you are in this town. Yes, we don't have other Africans there, but amongst ourselves, because we are human beings and we're all in politics, there's a connection between there's someone that we know. They may not be African immigrants, they are African Americans, They are Latino Americans, they are indigenous people, they are other black migrants, or even white allies who are in office. We connect you to them so that you get the support that you need. And also there is power in numbers. When we are all together, we overcome whatever the challenges are.
You also touched this, but how do issues like language, cultural identity, or immigration status affect civic engagement in African immigrant communities?
Well, if there is a saying that if you cannot sit down and have lunch with the people that you claim to represent, you don't have no right to represent them, right? We have leaders all over the country that will only come to the African community or the African Indian community only when they are looking for votes. It shouldn't be like that. A leader should be able to engage the people that they represent. And so that is one way it represents us. We are not a monolithic group. The African immigrant community have like a broader spectrum. You and I know that we have people in our communities who are Republicans. You and I know that. We have people in our communities, like many communities, who are Democrats. And within the Democratic spectrum, there's also those who are extremely progressive. And there are those who are Democrats, but they are also conservative, right? Okay. The mainstream political parties, whether it is the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, don't have no, excuse my language, freaking idea. I said freaking, so that the listeners will know what I said. They don't have no freaking idea. They all believe that we are one, right? I will tell you this. During the 2016 election, I have had a lot of people, not just in the African immigrants, in the immigrant community, so that was the first time that I ran for office, that would say this to me. By the way, we voted for you, but we also voted for you, right? And so I think those of us who are in elected office now, we have that knowledge. And because we do, we know we are in a position to engage our communities in a non-partisan way, which is what AELA is. We don't care whether you are a Democrat or a Republican. We are just going to empower you for you to get involved in the political and the democratic system that this country have to offer. Because as I said earlier, you either participate and be part of the process, or other people will decide for you and they work all over you, especially now.
This leads us to this question: what opportunities now do you see for AELA to influence policy or narrative about African immigrant leadership?
Right. I think, as you know, you work in the media. People that are doing good work all over the country need to be highlighted. And we have a lot of people who are doing that. But you know what happens? The media wait until one of us out of many have done great thing, exceptionally great, right? So we'll take that one person, we publish them, and then we parade them all across the country. Like, oh yeah, look at this person doing these things. But there is by bringing people together, and there are people who live in the part of the country that nobody will even know that they are doing anything, right? But once we bring them together, we will see who is doing what and how they are doing it, and how can we use them as motivators, as inspiration for others who are interested in learning, so that we can do that. And by doing that, it brings out, because a lot of Africans are doing a lot of things. African immigrants are doing a lot of things in this country. But because of we don't have the resources, because we are not so connected, nobody gets to know what we are doing. I will give you an example. There is a young woman here in Maine who ran for city council in Lewiston, got elected, met a lot of challenges. Now, she's doing some amazing work here in Maine, organizing other young people to get them to be connected civically. And but guess what? We don't talk about her.
I'm talking about Safia?
Yes, we don't talk about her. We don't talk about the work that she does. However, when she ran for office and she got elected and she was being attacked because it's a negative story, not about her, it attracted a national attention. And we have Deka, who, by the way, is a founding She's one of the founders, counselors, who will be advising me and working with me when they're yeah, she's done a lot of amazing work in the community that we live in, right? But what she didn't get attention for that. She got attention when someone was attacking her. So we want to flip that script to make sure that when our people are doing things, we will work with people like you, and then we will also use our connections and network, make sure that the mainstream media don't only come to us only when something is happening to us to say, oh, look at us, what is that? But to be heard and talk about our communities in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can allies, whether individuals, institutions, or other communities, best support AELA's mission?
Well, in many ways, for allies, as I said, organizations that we already have relationship with, we partner with many people. For individuals, we all know that what you can do to support organizations like this and the work that we want to do, it doesn't come free. For now, I am the only employee, and I get zero pay for it for now. There is a young woman, or let me say an individual in Worcester. Worcester have the largest that's in New England. Worcester have one of the largest of African immigrants. And the young people there and the students, they have been inviting me there to come and speak. In December, there's an organization, MOA, Massachusetts Association of African Descendants. It's made up of many Africans and Caribbean communities. They invite me to speak, and I spoke to them. And this young Nigerian woman walked up to me after I talked to them about AELA. I wasn't even, it was just an idea I was telling them. And she said to me, Mr. Ali, your idea has been lingering in my head for a long time. I'm glad that someone is also thinking about that. Let me know how I can be helpful. So now she's a volunteer staffer. So she helped me behind the scene with a lot of things. And so I don't want her to be working for free. I don't want to be working for free. So anybody that has the resources to support us, for example, I'm going to DC now to go speak to people and see if I can get some money for it. But I'm paying everything out of pocket. And at a point, I don't have endless resources. At a point, I may need help. So anybody that is listening who want to support us can reach out to us. We have a LinkedIn and Instagram page. The website may be out. Maybe by the time we publish this, the website may be up, and then they can go to the website and get in touch with us and let us know how they can help. If you know how to write a grant, you know how to do any skills that build up non-profits, you are welcome to join and support us.
Yes. What message do you hope African immigrant youth aspiring leadership take from the creation of AELA, as you mentioned, for example, these young women?
Yep. You are not here by accident. You are here because you are supposed to be. And do whatever you can. No skill. You are a resource to you. You are resources to wherever you live. And you are resources to this country and the world. Look, see what skills you have and how can you do it to make your community, to make your city, your state, your country, which is this country, if you are here, or the world, a better place.
And that's our story for today. Pious Ali, AELA, and the growing impact of immigrant leadership in America. From Portland, Maine, to cities across the country, immigrant leaders are stepping up, mentoring one another and building bridges across communities, from African and Caribbean to Asian and Latinx populations and beyond. At Amjambo Time, we celebrate these voices, their courage, and their contributions to making democracy stronger, more inclusive, and more representative of everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Eloge Willy Kaneza. Keep listening, stay connected, and remember, when immigrant communities rise together, they change the world.
Africa, yeah, Yet you have the diamonds in your land. All the wealth in the hands of some groups. Oh, mama land, wipe the tears of your children. Oh, mama land, give the chance your young boys and girls. Stop the lies, oh, stop the violence, oh. We want an Africa, for Africa.